This is the portion of the service that we've set aside for a prophecy update. So I would like to draw your attention today to a headline that came out in the International Herald Tribune. The article says, quote, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas tackled the biggest issues dividing the two sides at their meeting on Tuesday: final borders and Jerusalem and Palestinian refugees, an Israeli official said. It was the first time the two men discussed these matters in depth, the official said. These core issues have to be discussed on the way to finding a diplomatic solution of two states for two peoples, the official quoted Olmert as saying. The reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because this seems to be prevalent and pronounced in the news. You can't not turn on the TV or log on to the internet and not find something about what is going on in Israel and the quest for a quote-unquote Palestinian state. Here's the question. Should there be a Palestinian state for the Palestinian people alongside Israel? Here's the answer. No. Here's another question. Did the Jews take the land from the Palestinians? No. It's pretty simple. They did not take the land from the Palestinians. God gave the land to the Jew. And this is an Arab telling you this. Well, Genesis 13, verses 14 through 17 declares this and promises this when it says, The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had parted from him, Lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. Now, the Arabs, my people, say, well, see, that's it. It's our land too, because we came from the descendant of Abraham, vis-a-vis Ishmael. Wait a minute. Not so fast. The Arabs will use this verse to say, well, we are descendants of Abraham, and so we should have a land there as well, because God promised the land to Abraham, so we are descendants of Abraham, so we should have this land as well. Well, two things. First, God didn't recognize Ishmael as Abraham's son. When God said to Abraham, take your son, your only son, it's believed by most Bible scholars that Ishmael was about 13 years of age at the time. Ishmael was a work of the flesh. It was Abraham and Sarah's way of trying to help God out in fulfilling his promise to them to give them a son from which the promised son would come and the descendants would come. When God was testing Abraham to see if he would sacrifice Isaac, he said, take your son, your only son. But even if Ishmael was recognized, here's the problem. Ishmael was not Palestinian. Palestinian is a transliteration from Philistine. Ishmael was not Palestinian. He was not Philistine. Goliath was Philistine. Okay? Remember now, Hagar was the Egyptian maidservant. Now, what if I told you that Egyptians are not even Arabs? Now, they speak a classical form of Arabic, and when we were in Egypt, I had difficulty because my Arabic is really more the dialect of the Jordanians or the Lebanese or even the Arabs living in Israel, from Nazareth and from Bethlehem and from Jericho. That's the dialect of Arabic I speak. So when I was in Egypt, I had difficulty because that is classic Arabic. Here's the way that I try to illustrate it, because I wanted to know, where do I come from? Do I come from Ishmael or do I come from Esau? Esau or Edom, the father of the Edomites. And here's the best way that I was able to sort of identify how this all plays out and who the Arab people are and why the Egyptians are not Arabs. See, because again, Hagar was from the Negev. She was, again, the Egyptian maidservant. So that means that Ishmael was really Egyptian. He was at least half Egyptian. So here's how you can basically come to grips with who the Arab people are. See, the Egyptians are Egyptians. I know that's profound. But I suppose it would be like a Egyptian or like a purebred German shepherd. They are a purebred German shepherd. So the Arabs are a melting pot of Edomites, Hittites, Moabites, Moab, or the land of where we would call modern-day Jordan. These are a melting pot. So there's a mixed breed of all of these, peoples that make up what we call today the Arab people. My mom taught me growing up she was Palestinian. And that's not really true. There really is not such a thing as a Palestinian. In fact, if anything, if you were Palestinian in the turn of the last century, you were describing the Jews. The Jews were really the ones that were Palestinian. So my mom was born in Jordan, in a small little town outside of Amman called El Husn. So she was really Jordanian or Moabite or Edomite or, one of the ites or all of the ites all put together. And so really I'm sort of half Egyptian and half Arab. So that's why, I have great difficulty when I hear about this joint Palestinian state side by side living in, quote, peace and security. Well, okay, if this is true then, why do they still call it Palestine? Or why do the so-called Palestinian people need to have a Palestinian state? Well, it goes back almost 2,000 years ago. Recommended reading for those of you who are interested. This is a great book by Ramon Bennett entitled Philistine, The Great Deception. It is an accurate historical account of exactly what happened and when it happened. And I want to read for you a quote from this book. He says, quote, in 130 A.D., the Romans renamed Jerusalem Aelia Capitolina after the emperor Aelius Hadrianus and the god Jupiter Capitolinus. The Romans kept Aelia Capitolina, try saying that a few times real fast, as their name for Jerusalem and renamed the promised land Syria Palestina. The renaming of the land was an overt effort to eradicate the Jewish connection. After the Muslim conquest of Palestina in the 7th century A.D., the name Aelia Capitolina gradually faded from use, and in due process of time, Palestina, the Latin form of Philistia, or Philistia, the Philistines, the land of the ancient Philistines, was anglicized into Palestine. So that's why and where and when we got this notion, and it is a fabrication, that the land is belonging to the Palestinian people. You know, Yasser Arafat, the so-called father of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, he wasn't even Palestinian. He's Egyptian. Did you know that? This is a farce. This is the lie of all lies. and you're hearing it from a Palestinian/Arab.